Welcome to Wisdom Within Radio, where we strive to learn and share with you the mysteries of spirituality, health, quantum physics, and more. We're here with your guru, your spiritual advisor, the medium, and the woman who makes this show happen, my friend Lyndsey Paul. How's it going, Lyndsey?
Thank you, Abraham DeWeese, my sidekick, co-host, comedian, and I can also still say editor-in-chief of Seattle Side Up.
Well, thank you. Yes. I'm very excited to be on the show. This is a brand new medium that we're sorry for the pun. This is a brand new medium,
Yes.
media, whatever it is. We had been on the radio on KKNW, 11:50 a.m. in Bellevue, Washington,
Right.
for 3 years.
Yes, we were.
And now we're moving to the internet. We're moving to YouTube.
Oh my gosh, brand new, right? So, yes, we were on radio, KKNW. We have 3 years of podcasts you can find on iTunes or even our website, wisdomwithinradio.com.
That's right. And the great thing about those is they're free.
They're free.
You just go straight to iTunes. Go to our website, wisdomwithinradio.com.
Yes.
They're all there.
Yes. Well, the wonderful part of that is that you can go back 3 years and listen to us on podcasts, or you can now start watching us here on YouTube.
This is exciting. Our move to YouTube is now allowing our viewers, our former listeners, the ability to see our wonderful shiny faces.
Yes.
The same ability to interact with us live.
Yes.
And additionally, the opportunity to check us out at a later time.
You know what's great about this, though, too, is were we just not voted Best of Western Washington #2 in radio? And we're going to be bringing this to YouTube now.
2 years running. Best in Western Washington, #2. We're finalists. Thank you out there for everybody who voted for us.
Yeah, radio
Thank
personality, we were #2. Runner up, but that's, we're right next to #1. What's worse than that? Nothing.
Nothing.
And now we're on
Not
YouTube.
A darn thing. Well, Lyndsey, okay,
Yes.
You're a psychic, a medium, a spiritual healer.
Yes.
Of course, an all-around great gal.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
you're here to do some readings for our viewers out
Yes.
there. You're also available to just dispense some wisdom. But you know what? We're also here to learn a little bit from our listeners, and our
Right.
viewers.
The intention of Wisdom Within Radio, that the concept and the idea that we're bringing here to YouTube is that everyone has the wisdom within themselves to really tap into and bring that knowledge to the forefront. So whether it's me tapping into that or tapping into the energy of that person and bringing the information through, we always have this wisdom that we've learned from the people above us and around us and from our teachers. So the whole idea and the concept of the show when it originally started was that you don't have to go out seeking and searching for other people. You have that knowledge. You can tap into it at any point in time. And so I really do believe people have the wisdom within themselves to really answer some of their own questions. And if we learn to tap into that innate wisdom that we have and in our intuitive abilities and our psychic abilities, we can start to answer some of our own questions. But it really requires us tapping into that. And that's why I'm here, because some people just have not done that yet.
You bet. And you're okay, so this is exciting. For those of you who have never listened to us, again, you can check us out on iTunes. We are here.
Yes.
Lyndsey is here.
I'm here.
To do readings for you. She'll do aura readings.
Yes.
She'll do psychic readings. She will do
mediumship.
Mediumship, exactly. She'll help you with spirit guides.
And
help you speak with angels.
Yes. Well, and the wonderful part of this is that now you get to see our lovely faces. And this is the reveal, really. We've had so many people who were asking us with webcam, how can I see you after the show is over? And there was no way to do that.
Nope.
So now we are creating a show that is going to be packed with lots of fun. You'll be able to see us joking and having fun. And also you're going to be able to still ask questions in a way where I'll be able to answer that for you.
The great thing about the questions that you ask, especially today and for the next 4 episodes, you'll be entered into a free half-hour reading with Lyndsey Paul. How much does that usually cost for a half-an-hour reading?
A half-an-hour reading can be around $100. So this is
a good package.
This is a value of $100, and even a full reading is almost up to $200. So when we do a half-hour virtual reading for someone, what they're going to get is they will be able to call me, talk to me, or even Skype with me and we'll be able to see each other, and then they get to ask whatever they want.
Excellent.
Over 30 minutes. So
okay, so Lyndsey, anybody who emails you, anybody who goes to your Facebook and asks you a question, anybody who leaves a comment below here on YouTube
Yes.
is entered into this drawing.
Yes. So let me give the email address. The email address is info@wisdomwithinradio.com. And if you're listening, wisdomwithinradio.com and it is our website. So info@wisdomwithinradio.com is the email address. But Facebook, you can just, it's a
Wisdom Within
post.
Radio.
Yeah, you can post it on our page, or there's a post that already says ask your questions and you can comment on that. There's so many ways to ask us questions, and
You know what?
commenting below is a good idea too.
Please do leave those comments. Please do ask questions. But also check out Lyndsey's Twitter site. Every day, either on her Facebook or Twitter, she has usually a really good message, an insightful message, an inspirational story to say.
Yeah.
Story to tell.
Either a comment or a quote. And I try not to spam people as much because I know Facebook is like nonstop feed for most people. So yes, absolutely. But I try to reward everybody who interacts with me more with free readings, giveaways. And now we have this YouTube show where we're going to be giving away even more. So
you bet.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't we just get straight into some readings?
Yeah.
Let's show our viewers out there, for anybody who's new, how this kind of works. All right, so today our stagehand, the lovely Sydney, is going to read off some questions and you're going to do some readings.
Absolutely.
Sydney, can we get a question for Lyndsey?
So Dylan is asking, will I figure out which repressed emotion or memory is causing this bump on my face?
So Dylan has a bump on her face and she's wanting to know what repressed emotion. Say that other part again. What repressed emotion or
memory is causing the bump.
So a repressed emotion, she's talking about the subtle fields around her, the energetic fields around. And we are all energy, but we have multiple layers of energy around us. And when I'm reading someone's aura, I'm tapping into that. So right now with Dylan, what I'm doing is I'm tapping in energetically to her energy on a physical level, and I'm tapping into the energetic level of just the subtle levels of energy around her. The first thing I'm sensing with Dylan is that we're tapping into a past life. So I feel like an injury happened where this bump happens to be. She doesn't mention where the bump is, but it feels pretty significant. And as a result, and this can happen when we have a past life trauma, Dylan, if let's just say you were or I was shot in the shoulder with an arrow, for example, I might have a bump that manifests in my physical body because on a cellular level, we're remembering, our bodies are remembering what happened, whether we consciously remember it or not. So your body is manifesting this sort of bump. And energetically, I'm tapping into a past life with you. I feel like where the bump is actually where you were hit with some sort of weapon at your death. So this sounds pretty intense, and is the bump going to go away? If you surgically have it removed, then yes, but I feel like it's going to be there for your life. It's just something that your body is remembering as a result of this death and the way that it happened.
I've got a question for you. So you suspect that Dylan, that she may have been a warrior type in a previous life, or an abused person. What do you get any sense off of that?
When I tap into Dylan, the first thing that I feel is I feel that in this life she will be challenged with the feeling of being a victim and being victimized. I feel that yes, there was a situation in her past life, not going to say her most recent. I feel like this was a traumatic past life, which is why the bump feels so obvious to her, and this is why she's questioning it. Like, why is this bump here? It's really annoying, and she's really focused on it.
So you feel like it's a victimization from a previous?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately her death resulted in something that was traumatic. I feel like, yeah, it could have been that she was a warrior, but I really actually feel like she just chose to be around certain people. It feels like more like mafia. I feel like I'm tapping into something that's either mafia or mobster-like. I get the sense that she chose to be around certain people that maybe weren't great for her.
Okay.
And I feel like as a result, this actually can be multiple deaths from previous lifetimes. So it could have been that she was shot in this mafia lifetime. In another lifetime where she was a warrior, there could have been an arrow. There could have been something that was impaled into that spot. She's probably not going to remember the pain and the death, but now she has this bump there. And what's interesting to me is that when this happens, when we have past lives that are like this, people will actually sometimes get a tattoo in the place where they have that. They may have had a trauma in this lifetime that resulted in a scar, or even have a mole or a birthmark in these areas. So for her, this bump is not a birthmark. It's not something else like that, but it's still pretty significant to her.
Is there a warrior spirit that you can sense in people?
Warrior, yes, absolutely. Like you know when somebody has come back from battle or war, they have this look in their eyes that, that they've been through something.
Right.
And when you're talking to somebody who's been through something in previous lifetimes, you get that sense, you feel it. And it's something that's indescribable. You can see it in their eyes. And really the eyes are like that window into the soul where you can see that. With her though, her challenge and her tendency is going to be that she feels victimized in this lifetime and that she can move past that. She can move past it. Does she need to focus and bring all of her attention to this bump? No. Is it necessary for her to regress and go back and really see what happened? Not necessarily. She's curious about it. She wants to know what happened. I feel like there's multiple things that happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dylan. You've now been entered into the drawing for a free half-hour reading with Lyndsey Paul. All right, Sydney, what do we have next?
Okay, so Jessica is wondering, how do I know the difference between spirit contacting me and my own thoughts?
This is a big one for people.
That is a good question. How do you tell that?
Okay.
How do you figure that out?
Okay, so discernment is really, really big. So she wants to know the difference between, is this me thinking this thought or feeling this thing or doubting myself or saying these, or is it a spirit? So a lot of times this is where discernment is going to be huge for people that are developing their abilities. You want to start meditating to the point of noticing when your subtle field is connected with, because that subtle field, when there's a connection with spirit, you will have a response in your body. Yeah. Some people's eyes water, some people yawn a lot, some people will have the hair on their arms stand up. So when a spirit connects with you, you're going to feel the energy move towards you. You're going to feel that energy connect with you, merge with you, blend with you. And so as it blends with you, you will then receive the information. Now, if you're used to this particular spirit, let's say it's a spirit guide, and you don't actually notice those hits, you may want to slow it down and start to notice. Does the hair on your arm stand up? Does your eyes water? Do you feel energetically more expansive? Some other ways that people have told the difference between their guide and also whether or not it's a thought is a thought will originate from the self, whereas the information and energy that comes from a spirit kind of comes out of nowhere, and you'll feel like it come out of the blue. And just like a computer that just automatically downloads a new software and just it knows something, this is going to be very similar. So the discernment comes from really repetitive practice and starting to kind of slow things down and really see how you work. How does your abilities work? And you and I have talked about this so many times on the radio that it's not just hearing. It can also be thinking, it can be seeing, it can be sensing and feeling with the body and the pressure and the heat.
You mentioned that different people have different modalities to understand it. Mm-hmm. But one thing that you mentioned to me is you said it was an actual different tonality to the voice.
Yes.
So you are very aware of what your own voice sounds like in your head, but
absolutely,
the spirit are...
Once you start advancing more, and you're developing more, you will start to notice the subtle difference between your voice and a spirit's voice. And also the emotion that is attached to it, because it's not just a voice you're hearing, right? Sometimes what comes across is a thought. So I'm just going to give you an example. Let's say that you're the spirit that's talking to me, Abraham, and you're saying, I say, which way should I go, left or right? And you say left.
You should go left.
You should go left. Thank you. And I say, wow, is that me or is that Abraham or is that a spirit talking to me? So noticing the difference between my question and the emotion that I had and the emotion that Abraham had. So when I said, should I go left? I had a sense of uncertainty. Doubt was in my tone. Mm-hmm. When you were talking, you were very sure. You said, you should go left. And it had like a very specific energy to it as well. So you notice the difference between your energy and the spirit that's talking to you. You also notice the difference between the tone and the emotion. When the energy is translated into emotion or thought, we feel it differently than our own thoughts.
Have you ever noticed that when you're writing, you actually, let's go with reading. Let's say you're reading something that's fiction. You actually read it in the voice
of the character.
Yeah. Whatever your imagination has, assigned to that, character as far as their voice. That's the way you read it.
Yeah.
And whenever I think I'm talking to whenever I talk to someone, the way I think I sound it's going to sound so different when I, listen to it that's recorded. But like sometimes I hear myself go through thoughts in the sound of a different voice.
Right.
You know, like what would my dad say?
Mm-hmm.
And I hear it in my dad's voice, you know.
Well, it's really important to discern between the two, because as you start having more spirits connect with you, especially if you are a medium or you are sensitive or intuitive, it's important to start discerning between that so that you can discern between the source and quality of the message.
Well, and that's my question is, you know, how much of that is my imagination? I'm hearing my dad say, you shouldn't do that, versus some sort of spirit.
Right. Well, and you and
differentiate?
I have talked about this before, but it really comes down to deeply listening. It's not so much sitting here overthinking, because the more you think, the more you get into that part of your brain that is overanalyzing, and it's the part of the brain that is meant to make everything practical, logical, and intuition doesn't work with that part of the brain. It works with the more part of the brain that is intuitive is also connected to imagination.
Yes.
It's connected to things being messy and not synchronized at all. So when we talk about left and right brain, the right brain is the part that we're intuitively tapping into. That's the doorway to intuition. So if you can come to a place that is silence, where you're not tasking, where you're not in a place where you're constantly thinking or projecting, you're deeply listening. And that is why we do meditation. This is why you come into a space where you can find silence and your brain isn't tasking, is that you can go, I hear it.
Right,
I hear the difference. And when it's interesting to say, can you hear the difference between this voice and this voice? Or can you feel the difference of the emotion between yourself and someone else? And it really comes into a deeper level of intelligence.
Have you heard of the concept of the muse for musicians?
Mm-hmm.
The concept of the muse being that spirit, that, guide who gives you the inspiration for the music, and you actually hear it as audible tone.
Right.
Is that similar?
It's very similar. Absolutely. Like, you would know the difference between your mom's voice and your grandma's voice. But somebody who doesn't know their voices might only be able to tell that it is a female voice. So the more that me as a medium, and I'm just using myself, the more that I as a medium come into a place where I deeply listen and I am silent, I can start to hear the difference between your grandma and your mom who might be coming through.
And that's during your mediumship.
Or even in meditation. If there is a message that is meant to come through, it will reveal itself. But it's up to you as the person developing to really tap into and discover and explore how you work, because not every intuitive works the same. Not every medium works the same. Not every psychic works the same. I might hear, whereas another person might feel, another person might see. So understanding your gift and your ability, whether you want to call it your gift, your ability, your intuition, whatever, understanding that, how it works, finding a space that you can create where you're not thinking and you can deeply listen and you're not interrupted, then you will start to be able to tell the difference. And you can talk to somebody like James Von Prague, for example, who is one of my teachers, and he can tell you the differences between each one of his spirit guides. He can tell you the differences between the spirits that come through to him, and he can go into so much detail. So the same goes for anybody who's developing. The more you develop, the more you really can start to recognize how it works. And it's just very similar to like a mechanic, for example.
Right.
Once they work on a car and another car and another car, they can really get to starting to understand the way that each piece works and how it works and how it presents itself when they're working on that particular vehicle.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Dylan. All right, Sydney, what do we have next as far as reading?
So Missy is asking, will I ever get the hang of my spiritual gifts?
The hang of the spiritual gifts.
This is a good question to follow what we just answered. So, will you get the hang of it? That is up to you, Missy. Yes. I will be honest. When I first used my abilities more professionally and for friends, did I get the hang of it? No, not until I actually found my style and I practiced a lot. When I first started doing professional appointments, I would say I started at the end of 2011 doing professional appointments for people, and I really compared myself a lot to how others worked. I compared myself a lot to the style that I should be of my teachers. But the truth is,
that doesn't work though.
Exactly.
Because if you're trying to elevate yourself to the level of somebody who's been doing it for a long time, you'll never get the hang of it because you're setting your sights way too high.
Well, and what you're doing is you're comparing something that you've not experienced yet to something that somebody else has projected is the right way, or just even their experience in their session. So getting the hang of it, it's that feeling of comfort isn't necessarily a feeling of alignment. And that's the difference I want to make right now is when you're doing something and you're seeking comfort, you're not necessarily going to be aligned, because when you're doing something for the first time, the second time, the third time, there's discomfort. When you first learned how to ride your bike, were you comfortable? No. There was this feeling of sort of being uncomfortable. The more you did it, the more you mastered it, the more you came into an alignment with it. So yes, as you practice more, you're going to find your alignment and what that is, and that can be your hang of it. And then you will start to find comfort, and that's up to you to really challenge, whether or not you're going to push yourself further to align with more, or if you're going to be okay in that comfort zone or getting the hang of it. But yeah, when you do compare to other people,
like your metaphor with the bicycle, if you compare yourself to maybe somebody on the BMX pro circuit, you're never
that's a really good comparison.
You're never going to get the hang of it until you do some spinning backflip type thing. But if your goal of let's just call it getting the hang of it, if your goal is to get down the street without falling over, or if your goal is to bicycle a mile to work or bicycle 10 miles, you'll get the hang of it when you decide what the goal is.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Because I know that you're also a writer.
Yes.
And when you compare what you write to what other people write, do you get in this place where you feel this pressure to sort of be more?
I don't compare myself to other people. I mean, that seems kind of odd. There may be a little bit of hubris behind that, but
yeah,
I intentionally do not compare myself to other people.
I was hoping that you were going to say that. So
Okay.
Then the next thing I'm going to say to you is, when you are aware of how other people write, but you don't compare yourself to them, do you find that there's more ease for you in writing when you know you can do it in the way that you do it?
There is so much more ease in writing. The bicycle metaphor out the window, let's move into the writing world. I will never be J.R.R. Martin.
Yeah.
But I don't want to.
Right.
That's not what I'm writing. I write a lot of sports content, and I don't want to compare myself with somebody that is writing a completely different type of thing.
Right.
If I do decide that I want to enter that domain, I still would not compare myself to him.
Right.
So let's stick within the sports realm. Would I compare myself to a writer at ESPN? No, because they're not doing what I'm doing, and I don't want to do what they do. I want to be Abraham, writing as Abraham.
So with this particular person getting the quote unquote getting the hang of it, what would you say to them? Because it sounds like the magic unfolds when you're not comparing yourself to another person, when you're not.
It really does. Okay, so for them, I would ask, what is your goal, and what do you envision yourself at your best? What do you envision yourself at your worst? And if you think of yourself as somewhere in the middle, then you've gotten the hang of it. So
I love that.
If you're at your if at your worst, you going back to the writing world for a second. If at my worst, I can't even get together a sentence without forgetting punctuation or forgetting to run spell check, that kind of thing. If that's my worst, and if at my best, I am your Tolkien or your T.S. Eliot and whatnot. If that's my best and if that's my worst, I know I'm not at either place.
Right.
I'm in the middle, so I've arrived, and I
like that.
I have gotten the hang of it.
See, and this is kind of the idea, right? It's not just about me and how I intuitively pick up things, because you've been through experience as well.
Yeah.
You have this wisdom as well from not even just a writing standpoint, but in life. You have this life experience that you can offer others. And getting the hang of it, I mean, whether we're talking about intuition, whether we're talking about writing, whether we're talking about any topic can apply here. But it's not about the comfort. It's about really finding your own way into it and really coming to peace within yourself that this is something that you do.
You bet. And I just, one other thing, Lyndsey, I don't know if you ever really want to get the hang of something.
Right.
You want to always have that sight set a little bit higher, and you want to also be aware that you can be knocked off of this precipice where you're at to fail as well. If you, get to that mode where you're just getting along. This happened to me at AT&T. there's a good 3-4 years where I was just in the zone, just getting along, but I never wanted to achieve higher.
Right.
Because I was just happy being in the zone, steady paycheck, steady income, steady benefits and whatnot. But being, just getting the hang of it made the job way too easy, and it made me unable to get myself motivated to, succeed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I hope we answered your question.
I think that we went a little off tangent with it, but the idea, the way that she said it had the energy and tonality of somebody that was sort of unsure of whether or not they should be comfortable or not, and whether or not there was sort of this feeling of security in what they were doing. So
I almost get the feeling that she does have the hang of it, and her lack of comfort is totally normal and okay.
Yeah. I think being uncomfortable is a good sign.
I would think that if this person thought they had the hang of it, they might again get stuck in that well of complacency, and so
Right.
All right, we have Sydney. Do we have time for more questions?
Maybe one more.
All right, let's get the next question.
Carol is asking, will my company ever appreciate the work my team does?
This is a fun question because this feels very corporate.
She said team rather than herself.
Right. Will, say that one more time. Will the company ever appreciate?
Will my company ever appreciate the work my team does? So there's two teams. There's like her company and then her team.
Well, there's so many ways that I can kind of go into this. Yes and no. You're looking at a team as a whole, as a group, and they function together to complete a particular task. And the way that she's talking about the company and her team is almost like an us versus I. And the company should be working with the team to achieve the particular goals of the team. And that's what I'm feeling. And this is just me tapping into a little bit more of my corporate background, being that I've worked at corporations for many years. But with that, yes and no, she has some challenges ahead for this particular team. And I feel like how much the team has come together, or that cohesiveness of the team, is going to be very important to the future of the team and whether or not the company recognizes its successes. Right now, I feel a little unstable when I tap into the energy of this particular team, but I also feel unstable when I tap into the energy of the company. So I feel that both are reflective of each other. How well can you do if you know that the company around you is moving and changing? And it's kind of like if you were trying to, move on a moving platform, you're always sort of shifting that center of gravity, and you feel like, where do I put my footing with that is going to be the most stable? So for her and her team and the company, I feel like there's just all these moving parts, and when things start to kind of come to a place where they're feeling more stable across the board with the company, the team is going to be able to be more stable, and as a result, she's going to see the results that she wants with her team.
Okay, very good, very good.
Absolutely.
Well, that's been pretty much our show today, and it's been exciting to get back on the air, albeit through YouTube. And
absolutely.
Actually, we're going to have podcasts of this as well.
Yes, we're going to translate. Each episode is going to be translated into a podcast and is going to be on iTunes for free, or you can go to our website, wisdomwithinradio.com, and they're all right there, free, of course.
Excellent. So we're going to have some more episodes coming up here really soon. We're excited to get back and talk to you guys, and I'm excited to be back with you, Lyndsey.
Yes, please subscribe to our channel by clicking subscribe below, or comment as well. Ask your questions. You'll be included in on our giveaway for December, which is really important. It's valued at $100. So ask your questions and follow us on Facebook. We love it.
Like to thank our stagehand Sydney and our technical director Bob Lucky. I'm Abraham DeWeese.
I'm psychic medium Lyndsey Paul, and we will be back again next week.